welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're tuning in today, it's probably because you looked at the scoreboard from last weekend and just thought, what on earth just happened? We are here to cut through that noise. We aren't just reading you scores. We are, looking at the mechanics underneath the hood of this college football season.
It's so easy to get lost in the hype, especially after week one. You see these massive offensive numbers, and it's just natural to overreact. Our job today is to find the signal in all that noise.
Exactly. And we have a massive stack to get through to do just that. We're looking at game tapes from the wild offensive explosions in week one, specifically that absolute track meet between Cal and Northwestern.
Oh, yeah.
But we aren't just looking backwards. We're taking those data points and projecting them forward into a massive week two slate.
And we've got the scouting reports, the roster breakdowns, and maybe most importantly, the Vegas betting lines, which they tell a very interesting story this week.
So the mission is specific. Synthesizing the chaos of week one into, actionable insights for week two, we're going to break down the why behind the box scores. We have the clash of titans between Alabama and Clemson.
Yep.
The projected fireworks show of Purdue versus Oklahoma.
Oh.
And a very strange, almost suspicious discrepancy in the market for Wyoming and Cal.
It's a perfect storm of data. You've got overreactions to the first week, bookmakers trying to adjust, and scouts trying to figure out if what we saw was real or just a mirage.
So let's start with that reality check. Week one, Cal versus Northwestern.
Yeah.
The vibe. I mean, calling it a track meet almost feels like we're underselling it.
It really does. It was electric. That was the game that woke everybody up. If you turned this one off at halftime, you missed out. Big time.
The source material describes that first half as a total statement. Those teams came out just screaming, "We are here to score." But looking at the tape, and I want to be clear here, this wasn't sloppy football, was it?
Not at all. And that's a critical distinction for you to understand. High-scoring games often imply bad defense. Missed tackles, broken plays. This was high-level execution. It was punch for punch.
Let's focus on Cal's dominance first, because Coach AD has to be thrilled. The offense looked like a well-oiled machine. And it all starts with the quarterback, Kona Thrasher. The sophomore looks like a legitimate star.
He checks every single box you look for in a modern quarterback. I mean, you look at the stat line, 268 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. But the number that jumped off the page to me is that 83% completion rate.
That is just unheard of for a guy who also runs the ball so effectively.
That is the key. He's labeled a dual threat, but often that term's a nice way of saying can run but can't really read a defense. Thrasher is different. He added 60 rushing yards, but he didn't use his legs to panic. He used them to stress the defense.
Right.
When a quarterback is that accurate from the pocket and can break contain, it just puts the defensive coordinator in a blender. You can't be right.
And he wasn't doing it alone. We have to talk about Anthony League. I was looking at the rushing stats, and 11.2 yards per carry. That kind of efficiency is just absurd.
It is. He only had 11 carries, which tells you two things. One, he was fresh every time he touched the rock. And two, he tilted the field immediately. That's basically a first down every time he gets the handoff.
Wow.
But if we're handing out the game ball or if we're looking at who the NFL scouts are circling in their notebooks, it has to be Justice Williams.
The player of the game. 9 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. The notes specifically mention he was winning vertically and underneath. For anyone listening who's not a scout, why is that distinction so important?
It's the difference between being a gadget player and a true number one receiver. A lot of guys are fast. They can run a go route, take the top off the defense.
Sure.
But if you play off coverage to stop that deep ball, they disappear. Williams showed he can take a 5-yard slant and turn it into a forced down, or he can blow past you for a 53-yard touchdown. You can't scheme him out of the game. He wins everywhere.
He is the separator. But, look, we have to give credit to Northwestern and Coach Tez. They lost, but they did not roll over.
No, and from a betting perspective moving forward, that resilience really matters. Tim Carpenter, their quarterback, showed incredible poise. He threw for 356 yards and 4 touchdowns while they were trailing. That 75-yard strike was a thing of beauty.
And his receiving core looks legit. Nelson Savoy had 7 for 105. They have guys who can find space. So if the offense was working, why did Northwestern lose? What's the takeaway here?
Balance. That is the word. Cal could beat Northwestern on the ground with League or through the air with Thrasher. Northwestern has a passing game, sure, but they became one-dimensional. And critically, they got zero pressure. They let Thrasher get comfortable. If you let a quarterback with his ability sit back there and complete 83% of his throws, you have lost the game before the fourth quarter even starts.
Which brings us perfectly into week two. We're pivoting from a shootout to an absolute heavyweight fight. The blockbuster. Alabama versus Clemson.
This is the one. This is the game. Everyone is circled. It just feels like a playoff preview in September, doesn't it? You've got Coach Timmy Ellis for Alabama and Coach Money for Clemson.
And the sources describe this as a clash of identities. Ellis wants tempo, explosives. Money wants physicality and ball control. It's the classic unstoppable force meets the immovable object.
It is. And usually, in these early season matchups, the team that controls the line of scrimmage is the team that dictates which identity wins out.
Okay, let's look at the market because this is fascinating. Alabama is favored by 6.5 points. The money line is negative 260.
Right. So let's translate that market logic for you. When you see negative 260, it means you have to bet $260 just to win $100. The bookmakers are saying Alabama is a pretty significant favorite to win the game outright.
But the spread, 6.5, that feels a little tight for a big favorite.
It does, and there's a nuance there. In college football, home field advantage is usually worth about 2.5, maybe 3 points. So if this game were on a neutral field, the line might be closer to 3.5 or 4. The bookmakers are saying Alabama's the better team, but they respect Clemson enough to keep the line under a full touchdown. They think Alabama wins, but they don't think it's going to be a blowout.
So where's the edge? Where's the mismatch?
You have to look at the Alabama offense versus the Clemson defense. Alabama's led by Denzel Gardner. He's another one of these dual threat guys we're seeing take over the sport.
And look at who he's throwing to. Jerome Bettis Jr., 2 touchdowns in week 1. The guy is an absolute speedster.
He stretches the field. But the real X factor for Alabama might actually be on special teams. David Boutte. He had a 94-yard return last week. In a game this tight, field position is everything.
Good point.
If Boutte flips the field like that, that's hidden yardage that doesn't show up in the offensive stats, but it puts points on the board.
On the Clemson side, the resistance is led by Kurt Stoddard. They call him the elusive bruiser.
It's a perfect nickname. He had 103 yards in week 1. His job is to control the tempo. This is Coach Money's entire win condition. If Stoddard is grinding out 5-6 yards a pop, that clock keeps running, and Alabama's explosive offense stays on the sideline, you starve them.
But you always say, look at the trenches.
Always. The game is won or lost there. The critical battle is Alabama's O-line, specifically Easton Ware against Clemson's pass rush. That Classen duo, Ogbu and Higbee, they combined for 4.5 sacks last week.
4.5 sacks in one game that's disruptive.
It's game-wrecking. If they can collapse the pocket without blitzing, if they get home with just 4 guys, that forces Gardner to improvise. It ruins the timing on those deep routes to Bettis. If Ware holds up and gives Gardner 3 seconds, Alabama probably covers. If the pocket collapses, Clemson is live to win this thing.
Okay, let's pivot to a game that promises just pure chaos. Purdue versus Oklahoma. The sources are calling this the fireworks game.
Aptly named. You've got Coach J for Purdue, Coach Drew for Oklahoma. Both of them are walking in with truly elite offenses.
Now, this is where the numbers get weird, and I want your take. The opening line had Purdue as a 3.5-point favorite, probably because they're at home.
Right.
But the scouting analysis we have views Oklahoma as the slight favorite. That doesn't add up.
It's a classic contradiction. The betting market values that home field, that 3 points we talked about. But the roster analysis, the tape, it favors Oklahoma's balance. Oklahoma's coming off a monster performance.
Let's talk about that offense. Quarterback Darren Oden.
He's already playing like a Heisman candidate. 301 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's tall, he's smooth, and he is deadly accurate. He just manages the game like a pro.
But the player the scouts are circling in red ink is the tight end, Trine Washington.
He is the definition of a matchup nightmare. 8 catches, 148 yards.
Why is the tight end position such a problem for defenses right now? We keep seeing this.
It's just simple physics. Washington is too big for a cornerback to tackle. He'll just run him over. But he's too fast for a linebacker to cover in space. He falls into that gap where the defense just doesn't have a natural answer.
So what do you do?
Well, if Purdue doesn't bracket him, and by that I mean literally putting a linebacker underneath him and a safety over the top, dedicating 2 players to one guy, he is going to feast all afternoon.
And if they do bracket him?
Then someone else is open one-on-one. That's the stress Oden puts on you.
Purdue isn't exactly empty-handed, though. They've got Matt Zollers.
A superstar. He's a dual threat who has that put the team on my back gene.
Yeah.
He might have to win this game by himself.
And he's got John Sapp, who had that huge long reception last week, a walking highlight reel.
Exactly. Look, I agree with the shootout assessment, my vibe here. This is a 38-35 kind of thriller. The winner isn't who has the better offense. It's whoever protects the ball better. It's going to come down to one turnover.
From fireworks to, well, bad blood. Let's talk Ole Miss versus Northwestern. Coach Rick versus Coach Tez.
Yeah, the context here is heavy. The sources mention a rivalry plus trash talk element.
There is definitely some friction there,
Right.
and the momentum could not be more different. Ole Miss is confident, humming. Northwestern is, well, they are licking their wounds after that Cal game.
And the market reflects that completely. Ole Miss is a heavy favorite at negative 10.5.
That's a big number.
It is. The market logic here is that Coach Rick is viewed as the superior coach with superior talent. Coach Tez is priced as a live nuisance.
A live nuisance. Define that for me.
It basically means the bookmakers think Northwestern can be annoying, they can score some points, maybe cause some headaches, but the books don't see them as a true threat to actually win the game. They're pests, not predators.
However, looking at the movement, there are some alternate lines popping up.
Yes, and this is where you can find some value. There is interest in Northwestern at plus 17.5. That suggests that while the public thinks Ole Miss rolls, some of the sharps think Northwestern can keep it loose enough to stay within 2 scores.
They think the market is overreacting to the Cal loss.
Exactly. If Ole Miss is going to cover that big spread, though, it's going to be because of one guy, Zach Lanier.
The game wrecker. I mean, just listen to the stat line from week 1. 7 tackles for loss,
Yeah.
4.5 sacks.
That's insane. That's a career month for some guys, and he did it in one afternoon.
How does linebacker even get 4.5 sacks? Is that just awful blocking, or is he just that good?
It's a combination, but it's mostly raw talent. When you have a player with that kind of burst, the offense has to account for him on every single snap. If Northwestern doesn't chip him or slide protection his way, he just destroys the play before it develops.
So if you're Northwestern, what's the game plan?
You have to run away from him or use his aggression against him, screens, draws. If Lanier brings that chaos again, it is going to be a very long day for Northwestern. Their only hope is if Carpenter and Nelson Savoy, who we know is a star, can turn this into another track meet. But that defense has to stop Lanier.
All right, let's wrap with a game that has a really interesting disconnect. Wyoming versus Cal.
This is one of those market versus reality moments we love to break down.
So Coach AD and Cal are looking to keep the momentum going against Coach Ellie in Wyoming. The opening spread listed Wyoming as 6.5-point favorites at home. But our analytical breakdown explicitly calls California the favorite and the chalk.
It's a massive discrepancy. Usually the spread and the power rankings align. Here, they are fighting each other.
So why? Why would Vegas favor Wyoming when the scouts favor Cal?
Well, the case for Wyoming is pretty simple. Geography and culture. Home field in Laramie is tough. You got altitude, it's hostile. And Wyoming is disciplined. They are tough. They don't beat themselves. The bookmakers are banking on Cal having a hangover after that big win.
But the analytics.
The analytics don't care about altitude. They look at the players. Cal has the better quarterback in Thrasher. They have the explosive skill players like Williams. The data says Cal is simply the better football team.
So it's firepower versus efficiency.
That is the matchup right there. Wyoming's path is through their quarterback, Carson Boyd. He's a gamer, athletic, slippery. He'll use his tight end, Tim Henderson. They need to grind the clock and win a low-scoring, ugly game.
And Cal's path is just do what they did last week.
It's momentum. If Thrasher plays like he did in week 1, Cal controls the tempo. If they turn this into a scoring contest, Wyoming just can't keep up. The scouts say Cal wins. The bookmakers say don't underestimate Laramie.
It's fascinating. So what does this all mean for you? Week 2 is defined by these contrasting styles. You have the tempo of Bama versus the control of Clemson. You have the desperate rebound of Northwestern against the swagger of Ole Miss.
And you have these market inefficiencies. When you see a line like that Wyoming-Cal game or that conflicting favorite in Purdue-Oklahoma, that is where the intrigue lies. That's where the opportunity is.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Do the bookmakers know something the scouts don't about home field advantage? Or is this the perfect week to exploit an overreaction to week 1 stats?
That is the question. We saw these huge numbers in week 1. Now, defensive coordinators have tape. The adjustments made between week 1 and week 2 are usually the biggest of the entire year. The teams that can evolve are the ones that will cover.
Great point. So when you're watching the games this weekend, don't just watch the ball. Watch the trenches in that Bama game. Watch to see if Purdue brackets that tight end.
And watch the betting lines move right up until kickoff. They tell a story all on their own.
That's it for this deep dive. Good luck with your picks. Enjoy the games. And we will see you on the other side of the weekend.
Enjoy the football.